final destination here in Kansas City, Missouri. 4 games in about the next 41 hours on deck this weekend between the Twins and the Royals from Kauffman Stadium. And Twins baseball on Fox Sports North is presented by State Farm. Welcome inside Kauffman Stadium on a beautiful night for baseball. It has been 15 years since 2 pitchers took the mound before the All-Star game with an ERA below 3 and double-digit wins. The last time it happened, Derek Lowe of Boston faced off against Tom Glavine of Atlanta. But that's what we have tonight, and this should set the tone for a great weekend of baseball. Let's take a look at our series setup. For Vargas, we talked about the ERA. He's got 11 wins. He's on pace for over 20. Paul Molitor says his changeup against the Twins' young hitters is the matchup to watch tonight. For Irvin Santana, he's been great in a lot of areas, but 3 complete games might be something to think about with the doubleheader on deck tomorrow. The more they get out of him tonight, the better the Twins will be on Saturday. Kansas City comes into this weekend smoking hot. Winners of 12 of their last 17. The 2015 world champs are feeling it, but they have lost 3 of their last 4, and in those 4, given up 22 runs. And they face off against a Twins team that has owned them this year. The Twins set the tone way back on April 3rd, opening day, with a big win behind Irvin Santana. They've won 7 of 8 matchups against Kansas City, outscoring the Royals 50-27. And of course, the Twins are the road warriors, 24-12 away from Target Field. Up next, Dick Bramer and Jack Morris. With, speaking of road warriors, the guy on the mound, like his team, down and on the road. They'll show you just how good Santana has been away.
On opening day, Ervin Santana got this season started on the right foot with a win over the Kansas City Royals. He'd like to do that again here tonight in the opening game of a 4-game series at Kauffman Stadium. And we welcome you to Kauffman Stadium. Dick Bremer, Jack Morris for the first of now a 4-game series with the doubleheader coming up tomorrow. And Ervin Santana, with a couple of shutouts on the road, has simply been outstanding away from Target Field.
For whatever reason, he's performed absolutely brilliantly on the road this year. He's a guy that I think relaxes. And if you look at what he's accomplished per start on the road, 7 innings pitched, 4.3 hits, no runs hardly at all, an earned run a game, and almost 5 strikeouts a game. You take that every time. He's done that every time this year, and just really been excellent on the road.
Of course, he pitched for the Kansas City Royals a few years ago, and he's off to perhaps his best first half in his major league career. Twins have a winning record on this road trip without much production from Miguel Sano. They hope that will change tonight in the opener of this 4-game series with Kansas City. Sano with a 2-run blast to right. Gordon back, still back, gone. A 3-run home run for Miguel Sano. The All-Star voting is finished. Maybe that somehow will help Miguel Sano relax and get back to the type of hitter he was in April and May. Facing left-hander Jason Vargas, who's been really good for the Kansas City Royals this year. He'll be making his first appearance this year against the Twins. And welcome back to Kauffman Stadium. Dick and Jack with you as we get ready for the opening game of this 4-game series. And the Twins do have a winning record on this road trip. Really only one productive hit from Miguel Sano. And they'd like him to figure things out here and lead this team to a good series.
Well, he has struggled as of late, but you never know. He's been very good against the Royals this year, and hopefully he'll get that magic back. He's going to be facing a guy who's facing the Twins for the first time, but what a year he's had. Jason Vargas, you can see his numbers over his last 8 starts versus the Twins. 4 wins, a very respectable ERA, and a good opponent batting average. This guy knows how to pitch. He adds and subtracts. We talked about Ervin Santana doing it. You got to try to make him throw the ball in the strike zone. He will get you and entice you to chase out of the zone. But Miguel Sano, here's the numbers. As you can see, Big numbers. Great year against the Royals this year. Hopefully that will kind of pick him up. He loves hitting at this ballpark, and he needs to get back on track, because they say as Miguel Sano goes, so goes the Twins.
And the Twins have posted the best road record this side of the Houston Astros. They'd love to get this 4-game series with their closest pursuer in the division, the Kansas City Royals, off on the right foot. With a 2-run blast to right. Gordon back, still back, gone. A 3-run home run for Miguel Sano. Twins leading the season series 7-1, but now just 2 games separating the teams in the American League Central, meaning if the Twins had won just 1 fewer game in the season series, the 2 games would be tied. Paul Molitor with a winning record within the American League Central. And the Menards batting order for the Twins in the opener. Brian Dozier leading off, then Joe Bauer, Miguel Sano, Eduardo Escobar, Jason Castro, Jorge Polanco, Eddie Rosario, Byron Buxton, and Max Kepler. And Dozier in the box, Vargas ready to go, and here we go. Strike at the knees.
Let's look at the season numbers for Jason Vargas. He has been good for the Royals this year. 16th start of the season, 11-3, a very good league-leading 2.29 ERA. He knows how to pitch, and he's done well against the Twins, and Paul Molitor talked about it. Our own Kevin Gord mentioned it in the pregame that he throws a lot of off-speed pitches, and he's going to try to get the guys to chase out of the zone. That's his game. He's got a good enough fastball to freeze them if they're starting to look off-speed.
Foul ball, and it's 1-2. Where his mound opponent Irvin Santana's had a few hiccups this year, Vargas has only had 1 game where things kind of got away from him. That was here against the Yankees in mid-May. 4 innings and 6 earned runs. Other than that, he's been very consistent and very good. Santana, as we mentioned, got the opening day assignment against the Royals. Twins won that ball game 7-1. 2-2 to Dozier, getting things underway here in the top of the first. And Dozier strikes out. And Perez throws to first, one away. Northland Ford defense for the Royals. The only team better defensively, statistically, than the Twins. Gordon in left, Kane in center, Bonifacio in right, Moustakas, Escobar, Merrifield, Hosmer, the infielders, and Salvador Perez going back to the All-Star game again as a starting catcher for the American League. Vargas making his first appearance of the year against the Twins. Strikes out Dozier. Now he'll face Joe Mauer.
And like you'd expect, Joe Mauer having the most plate appearances against Jason Vargas. This is his 37th at bat lifetime against Vargas. Dozier has 23, and everybody else pretty much has only seen him a little bit here and there.
Mauer's got 14 hits against Vargas, and the batting average going northward again. This one grounded weakly to first. Hosmer has an easy play, 2 down. And that'll bring up Miguel Sano. And tonight's State Farm combination, much of the Twins' success can be attributed to the type of game Miguel Sano has. As he goes, the team goes. Hitting .346 in the 36 wins, .194 in the 34 losses. And it's a bit startling, surprising, I think, Jack, that this Twins team does have a winning record on this road trip, and they've got 1 hit from Miguel Sano.
Well, he saw some real power arms in Boston, and I think Vargas, believe it or not, I think will kind of play into Miguel's game. I think if he can sit on a pitch, get ahead in the count, and get into a pitch or a hitter's count, I think he can handle anything Vargas can throw out there.
Sano's batting average has taken a 37-point nosedive over the last 3 weeks, down to .270. So it's been more than just this road trip. 1-1. And now 1-2. Twins won about 3 weeks where they saw just one left-handed starting pitcher, but now that's been more the norm.
Well, I think that's all there is in the league right there. They faced them all in a week.
And some good ones too. Quintana, Sale, Price, and Vargas leading the American League in earned run average. Taken low, and it's 2-2.
He gives you a lot of arm speed, but the ball comes in slow. It's a great changeup. He does it with his breaking ball and his straight change. He can sink it away to right-handers, and it's hard. You've really got to keep your head on the ball and try to track that ball deep into the strike zone, because rarely does he throw fastballs early in counts.
3-2 to Sano. Eduardo Escobar hitting cleanup. He's in the on-deck circle. Close pitch, and Sano takes a walk.
Yeah, good at bat, tracking the pitch, and getting a Twins runner on base for Eduardo Escobar. Escobar has got a very respectable .429 average.
Yeah, that was outside.
Yeah. Here's the pitch arsenal for Jason Vargas. Almost 50% fastballs, 30% changeups, and 20% curveballs.
Fastballs cutting in very often on right-handed batters, and Escobar, the switch hitter, will hit right-handed against Vargas. Down the middle of strike. Escobar hit a big opposite field home run from this side of the plate at Fenway Park into the bullpen area. Pretty impressive for a right-handed batter to do that. And then he reminded me today that a couple years ago here as a left-handed batter, he hit one up into the fountains. In the lineup, because he's been swinging a hot bat from both sides, particularly from the right side of the plate. This one lifted down the right field line. Bonifacio has a long run and no play. 1-2.
You know, as I watched that unfold there, that play down the right field corner, reminded me of that ugly incident that happened yesterday.
Fowler, the tremendous young prospect, in his major league debut, suffering a serious knee injury. 1-2.
Well, we had a very electric crowd, wonderful environment in Boston, and here we are at Kauffman Stadium. It doesn't get any better than this.
Changeup strikes out Escobar. Sano left the board, and Irvin Santana, the former Royal, will take the mound in the bottom of the first. hasn't had the best of months, but he's been outstanding on the road. A 4-hit shutout against the Giants at AT Park. And in his most recent start, he scattered 9 hits, 8 singles and a double in 6 shutout innings over the Indians. 15 consecutive scoreless innings on the road. That's leading active streaks in that category. And he'd like to extend that streak here tonight against this Menards batting order with Merrifield, Jorge Bonifacio, Lorenzo Cain, Eric Hosmer, Salvador Perez, Mike Moustakas, Jorge Soler, Alcides Escobar, and Alex Gordon. And it'll be Merrifield getting things started. It's a Kansas City team that got off to a terrible start at 7-16, but now they're right back in the race because they had a winning May and a 16-9 June.
Yeah, and over that time from May 1st till now, they have not lost more than 2 consecutive games, and that explains a lot about a team that's heated up. They've gotten better pitching, but a considerably better hitting here at home.
Santana on opening day gave the Twins 7 innings, just 2 hits, one of them a Moustakas home run. 2 strikes to Merrifield. Bonifacio and Cain will follow. The Royals were 6.5 out at the end of April, 5.5 out at the end of May, and if they win here tonight, they'll be 3 games out because the Indians have already been rained out tonight against the Tigers. And similarly, the Twins would be a game out if they can win. And now 2-2.
Well, Irvin's making his 23rd career start versus the Royals in 22 starts. He's got a 6-9 record and a 4.45. So even though he's done well against this team as of late, his overall numbers are fair to best, I guess.
Didn't walk anybody in his start against the Indians. It was 0-2. Now it's 3-2 to Merrifield.
He's made 22 career starts here at Kauffman Stadium, and he hasn't won since 2010.
One hop picked up by Polanco over to Mauer, 1 away. Northland Ford defense for the Twins. The good young outfielders are together out there with Rosario in left, Buxton in center, Kepler in right, Sano in third, Polanco, Dozier up the middle, Mauer at first, and Castro behind the plate.
I would call this our A team. This is what Paul Molitor likes to send out there. If all things being equal, I think playoffs started tomorrow. This is the lineup you'd see out there.
And of course, with a doubleheader tomorrow, we might not see this lineup throughout this series. Check swing. No swing to Jorge Bonifacio. 1-0.
Well, we talk about a lot of pitching matchups, and neither guy today is a power pitcher, but I call them pitchers, total pitchers. The guy on the mound for the Twins, Irvin, knows what this game's all about. He has a feel for hitters, and so does his mound opponent, Jason Vargas. This could become a very good one tonight. Let's hope it is.
2-1.
We've had our share of long games, and I know that there's a lot of people that are superstitious when I mention things like this.
Not me.
But I got a feeling already that both guys are going to be on their A game.
Okay.
And that runs will be at a premium.
2-1 to Bonifacio. Cain will follow. And now 2-2. I long ago dismissed the idea that there's anything
we have anything
you can say or I can say that has any impact on the game itself.
But you realize
our people in our truck beg to differ.
There are some superstitious human beings.
2-2. Up high, and it's another full count.
The one check, or I might add to that, is that Irvin has made a few mistakes up in the zones in a couple of his starts. He's given up a few home runs. This is a big ballpark. You've got to be you know, wear your big boy pants to hit it out of this ballpark, unless you pull it right down either line right by the foul poles, but or as Phil Niekro wants to call them, fair poles. Because if you hit it, it's fair.
That's right.
You know,
it's in fair territory.
Everything else is foul. So I think Phil has the right approach to it. They're fair poles, not foul poles.
Another 3-2 pitch coming to Bonifacio. And he missed outside. A 1-out runner for the Royals. And before Cain's at bat, let's go to Kevin Gord.
Yeah, it's time for our car soup scoop from the clubhouse. We'll start with big Miguel Sano looking for a pitcher for the home run derby. Sounds like he's going to lean on his good friend Fernando Tatis. They work out in the offseason. That looks like the plan right now for Sano. Brian Dozier joked about the flight in last night. A little bumpy with that storm they flew through. He's in charge of the Cards and, of course, the Chips. And it was a little bit messy, he said, but they kind of battled their way through it. He chuckled when he said that, but that was quite a flight. And then Phil Hughes, guys, said he felt great coming out of that effort in Boston at Fenway Park. Looking forward to helping out this weekend, specifically tomorrow. And he said the heat that is forecasted and the humidity probably helps him loosen up that shoulder as he looks to get that velocity still climbing on that mound.
Well, thank you, Kevin. I liked your name for our flight last night.
Knuckleball Express.
Yeah, that's kind of how we felt coming through the sky from Boston here, bouncing all over the place. Swing and a miss, and now Santana gets ahead of Kane, 0-2.
Well, back to Kevin's further point about Phil Hughes, I thought he pitched well last night and looked very comfortable on the mound. Got some quick outs, and that could be a real plus if he responds well and can go out and contribute like that. We might have another guy on the A squad of the bullpen committee.
What was nice to see, I think, for Paul Molitor, he didn't want to do it, but he brought Hughes into the middle of an inning. And Phil was able to get the outs needed there and then pitch another inning on top of it.
And we'll explain what he meant by that. Phil's a starter. He's been a starter for a few years. And he was concerned about his ability to warm up quickly and come in and be effective. Or, you know, that's why he would prefer to have him start an inning. Then he has as much time as he wants to get ready like a starter would.
1-2 to Kane. 16 pitches for Irvin and only 8 strikes. Old foul over by the Twins dugout. Kane having a good year, and these Royals veterans have responded after a very slow start offensively to have a pretty representative lineup out on the field. Some exceptions, of course, Gordon and Escobar. But the guys you think of, Kane, Hosmer, Perez, Moustakas, they're all having solid years.
Yep.
And another foul. It's been a long first inning already for Santana.
Yeah, a little bit high of a pitch count for Irv, but this is a team that I guess Ned Yost would be proud to say are grinders. They've been there. They know what it takes to win, and they know the guy on the mound. Former teammate of theirs.
Blocked by Castro, checked by Kane. And it's 2-2. I guess this is the beginning of a long holiday weekend. 4th of July on Tuesday, and a lot of people will observe Monday as well. So maybe a 5-day weekend for some people, and it couldn't have gotten off to a better start weather-wise here in Kansas City. Just gorgeous weather.
Anything that's under 115 degrees in KC to me is great, and it's 80 degrees and nice, pleasant breeze. This is wonderful. I've always enjoyed it. I know Bert talks highly about Kauffman Stadium here. I think they've just done a remarkable job through all the years, and to me, it's a beautiful, beautiful ballpark.
Popped up in another foul ball, and the Royals aren't putting much in play here, but they sure are wasting a lot of strikes by flipping them foul. Still 2-2. The renovations they did here, what, 7 years ago, whatever it was, just really fit the ballpark perfectly. 2-2 to Kane. 20 pitches already for Santana.
Well, they're wearing him down. I mean, those are things you want out of the first inning. You want that, of course, out of your leadoff guy to see a lot of pitches. Irvin finally gets him to chase out of the zone, so that good pitch, good location. See, he goes to the slider here, and Kane a little over anxious. He chases out of the zone, and that's one thing both pitchers are good at. They know that. They just sense when hitters are going to be aggressive and are going to swing. They're in swing mode. Kane was there, and Irv didn't throw it over.
Here's Hosmer hitting over 300. On a pace to hit about 20 home runs again this year. Up and in, ball 1.
Well, he's one of the hitters in the Kansas City lineup that's hitting over 300.
Royals dead last in the league in scoring runs. foul ball, and it's 1-1. But you can't blame Hosmer or Kane for that matter. It's the guys at the very top of the order and the very bottom that have struggled and really crippled this lineup.
Well, I think early in the year when the Royals played the Twins at Target Field in that first series, Hosmer was really struggling to make even contact. It wasn't the Eric Hosmer that most fans come to have known him for, but things are starting to straighten out. You know, he did play for Team USA in the World Baseball Classic, and you know, like a lot of guys, didn't have a lot of time with his parent team during spring training.
Missing inside, 2-1. The Royals are convinced, as the Twins are, that the Indians are beatable this year. They've not run away and hidden from anybody, which should make for a very interesting second half of the season.
Well, I think what they've shown is that they don't have a super pitching staff yet. I mean, Corey Kluber is getting on track, but the rest of the staff, the starting staff especially, has been struggled. You know, I think everybody else has a equally good a chance as far as starting pitching goes so far. It's approaching the first half of the year.
Blocked by Castro. Now 3-1 with Salvador Perez on deck. Now the Twins version of it, I guess, would be Barrios, Santana, and Prey Mañana. But everybody's got the same problem, filling out the back end of their rotation.
Yeah. Irv needs to come back here. He doesn't need a guy at second base.
That's hit to center. Buxton glides over to end the inning. A walk for each starting pitcher. The difference is Santana had to throw a lot more pitches than Vargas.
Left-hander, another tough lefty on the mound for the opposition tonight for the Minnesota Twins, and they have seen some tough ones of late, and they are starting to get a little traction against left-handed pitching. Lately, they've seen Quintana, Sale, Pomeranz, Price last night. You can see the numbers right there. Still better against righties, but the book on the Twins has always been throw a lefty at them, you put them in a lot of trouble. They're .500 against left-handers. You can see their runs per game climbing up near 4. When I asked Paul Maurer about this, he said he's starting to get more confidence in front of his left-handed hitters. Joe Mauer's always going to be in there. He's a great hitter, but guys like Rosario and Kepler starting to get a little traction themselves against these tough left-handed pitchers, guys.
Yeah, and the lefties are in there tonight, Kevin, starting with Castro, Mauer, of course, and then later on Rosario and Kepler will bat. Castro, Polanco, and Rosario here in the second. Twins got a walk with 2 outs to Sano. Castro lifts it to center. Lazy fly ball, and Kane hardly has to move. 1 pitch, 1 out. And that'll bring up Polanco. maybe in July, the Twins will be facing Clayton Kershaw. He's the showstopper tonight. First 12-game winner. Vargas can join him tonight if he gets the win. And the Dodgers have won their last 11 starts, started by Clayton Kershaw.
Pretty impressive. This guy has been the elite of the elite in baseball, Clayton Kershaw, and another good team that he's playing behind for the Dodgers this year. They seem to come up with some young players every year that just stand out.
And I said later this month, ignoring the fact that this is the end of June, it's the end of July where the Twins might face Kershaw, playing at Dodger Stadium at the end of the month. One strike to Polanco, and a ball to hit to left, and that's hanging up for Gordon.
Boy, efficient pitching right here. 3 pitches, 2 outs.
And unless the Twins can stretch this half inning out here, Santana, after throwing 27 pitches in the first inning, is going to have to go right back out there.
Well, this is not the guy to go up there and take 3 pitches to work the count. Eddie Rosario's a free swinger, and if he sees something he likes, he's probably going to take a rip at it.
Rosario has held his own and then some against lefties, hitting .303 against left-handers, 20 hits, 66 at bats, running out of the box and taking a strike, but virtually no power. He's got 5 doubles and a triple, but no home runs, and in 66 at bats, only 1 run batted in against a left-hander. Vargas has delivered a first pitch strike to all 7 batters so far, and the count is 1-1. That's down the left field line, and Gordon, with great range out there, goes into a slide. Probably didn't need to. He made the catch in a 3 fly ball out inning. All done on a handful of pitches, and we have no score after an inning and a half. He's really punished Twins pitching this year.
He really has. For whatever reason, he's kind of come on into his own against the Twins pitching. Let's see, huge numbers there. 5 home runs, 9 RBI, a .480 batting average, and his hot zones pretty much explain why. You know, you've got to be real fine to be able to go up and in and up and away. Everything else is a danger zone for Sal Perez. He will swing pretty much at anything, and when he's on, doesn't matter where it is, he'll chase it and still hit it hard.
Perez, Moustakas, and Soler here in the Kansas City second.
I think most guys have had success trying to get ahead and then throwing the breaking ball right in that zone right there. He will try to pull with 2 strikes he's kind of old school. He will shorten up and go the other way, but he'll take a couple hacks early in counts and try to lift and separate and pull his shoulder off sometimes.
2 strikes. Just as you said that, Byron Buxton moved about 12 steps from left center over into right center after the 2nd strike.
Well, again, that's because of scouting and all the analytics. Jeff Pickler is going to position him there different early in counts and late in counts.
1-2.
And Irv's going to try to straighten him up inside.
Popped up near the Kansas City dugout and out of play.
That's one thing I think Irvin does very, very well, is he's one of the few Twins pitchers that will throw inside, and he'll move hitters off the plate occasionally so that it opens up the outer part of the plate. But he uses both sides of the plate, and I think you have to in this game. You can't just be a guy that the word on the street is he's only using half the plate.
1-2. Got him with a breaking ball.
Just like they wrote it up.
And that's the same pitch that struck out Kane on the 1st inning. 1 down. And that'll bring up Moustakas.
No, here's how he worked. Salvador Perez here, first pitch slider. Good spot, lifted it, separated. Same thing, shoulder's gone the first couple pitches. Then he kind of wastes one, comes back in with a fastball or sinker down and in, goes back outside, and Sal chases a ball out of the zone.
Now Moustakas chases. Moustakas hit a home run against Santana on opening day at Target Field and has gone on to hit 19 more of them.
You know, I wish we could track somehow both these pitchers tonight and the total number of strikes thrown in the zone. I bet there won't be that many.
Weak pop up, and Castro comes back, and that one just over the screen.
When you know how to pitch, like both these starters know how to pitch, and they can throw 1 or 2 per at bat in the zone and then realize that hitters are going to be aggressive. All hitters think they can hit guys that don't throw 97. They think they got nothing. You've got nothing that can get me out. Trouble is, you're chasing out of the zone, so the stuff that gets them out are not strikes.
Especially with 2 strikes, which Moustakas has now. It's on the center field, and Dozier drifts out. Has an easy play, out number 2. 2 gone in the 2nd. Looks like a better inning for Irvin Santana. Let's go to Kevin Gord.
Yeah, Dick, time for our Sanford Health injury report, and certainly tough news for 2 young, what could be rising stars in Major League Baseball. We'll start with Washington's Trey Turner, broken wrist. A pitch from the Cubs pitcher Pedro Strop, 96 mile an hour, broke the wrist. That's a tough one. You guys mentioned it earlier. Terrible injury in Chicago after that long delay last night. Dustin Fowler chasing a ball in foul territory down the line, ruptures his patellar tendon. First major league game. His family was all set to meet him in Houston this weekend. Just an awful situation. Had to have surgery last night in Chicago. So we wish them both a speedy recovery, but just awful news.
Imagine the dreams of that young man playing in the major leagues.
It's unbelievable. That's just it's a sad story. Let's just hope that the doctors did everything they could and he'll bounce back and still have that career that he dreams about.
Soler behind in the count quickly, 0-2. And Irvin Santana, after the 1-out walk to Bonifacio, set down 4 men in a row. 1-2.
Slider away.
And Soler didn't bite. 2-2.
You're going to go back in with a fastball.
Foul back.
He left it up and over the plate. Those are the kind of mistakes that have cost Irvin a few times in the home run department. He wanted that one in, and he had him set up for a fastball in, but he left it up and away. And back to the slider. beauty.
On the outside corner. Couple of strikeouts and a 1-2-3 second inning for Irvin Santana. Byron Buxton will lead off the third when we come back. Is presented by Northland Ford. Visit buyfordnow.com and your local Northland Ford dealer today. By Grand Casino, the best stories start here. And by Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. Byron Buxton leading off the third, squaring to bunt, and a bunt right back to Vargas, who has an easy play. Either not hard enough or not angled properly. Buxton is gone on a bunt attempt. One pitch, one out. And at this rate, Vargas can pitch 15 innings tonight.
Well, Buxton wants to get it past Vargas, and the ball kind of dies. Just so happens that Vargas finished right towards the baseball, and I wouldn't call him an exceptional. First of all, he's left-handed, so he can't be that great of an athlete.
Whoa! Whoa!
Well, he's a left-handed pitcher. Okay, I got to rephrase that. Left-handed pitchers. See, my brother was left-handed. We've been fighting for 40 years. So.
Okay. 1-0 to Kepler. Slow breaking ball over for a strike.
He's been efficient tonight. We have to tip our hat and hand him that. The Twins hitters have not gone in too many deep counts. No base runners per se. Only the one walk by Miguel Sano.
Taken for a ball, 2-1.
The ball just seems to die. It comes in so fast and it just disappears. The ball is just he's had that uncanny ability to change speeds.
3-1.
Oof. Close pitch right there.
Missed some time with the Tommy John surgery. Came back, made 3 appearances last year, one of them against the Twins. Pretty close pitch, 3-1. And now Kepler takes a walk with 1 out here in the third. And that'll bring up Dozier. Friday, July 7th, it's University of North Dakota night here at Target Field. A limited number of UND theme night ticket packages are available that include a game ticket and a green and white Twins cap. Learn more at twinsbaseball.com/UND. Second walk taken by the Twins. Sano took the other one, and now here's Dozier, who struck out in the first. Vargas again missed most of 2015, most of 2016 with the Tommy John surgery, and he is what the Twins had hoped Tommy Milone would be. Both finesse left-handers, but Vargas with much better command and field than what Milone showed with the Twins. And now Dozier takes low, ball 1. How would you compare Vargas to a contemporary of yours, Charlie Leibrandt, who pitched quite a bit here in Kansas City, another finesse left-hander?
A little different, I think. The guy that I'm thinking was a pitcher for the Baltimore Orioles, and he was their pitching coach for a while.
Not Mike Flanagan.
Not Mike Flanagan. The other left.
Scotty McGregor.
Scotty McGregor. That's who Vargas reminds me of.
1-1 to Dozier.
He has a feel, and we talk about that with Irvin Santana all the time. You know, this guy can sense what a hitter's trying to do and then pitch accordingly.
Driven deep to the right field corner. Kepler hustling, and that ball is.
It looked like it was
gone.
fair.
A home run.
I thought it was.
Touched a foul ball. I beg your pardon.
Well, the right field or the first base umpire Jordan Baker called it foul, but I think Paul wants to take a look at it. He's called timeout now, and
he's going to ask for an umpire review. Jordan Baker put his arms out, and Dozier, who pulls most of his home runs, may have hit one just inside the pole. And they will look at it. This is not a challenge. This is an umpire review.
I'm curious myself because when I was watching that ball, I really didn't watch it closely whether it stayed fair or foul, but it looked like it stayed fair.
Try to give you the best looks we have available. Mike Everett, the crew chief, third base umpire on the right. And Dozier making a bid at least for a home run right down the right field line. We just finished playing in Boston where they had the famous pesky pole. What would we call it here in Kansas City? The Patek pole?
No, Freddie, I don't think went over that way too often.
And apparently, if you have to look very closely, the very base of the foul pole in right field, and it is a foul ball.
They got it right.
It looked like it just missed hitting the pole right above the fence. So nothing more than a strike.
I was kind of hoping to see Brian Dozier's home run trot there because he came back to the on-deck circle. And he would have just had a whole bunch of time.
You can see the black strip on the base of the foul pole there, and that thing
somewhere in this area.
Yeah, right there is where the ball was. So now 1-2 to Dozier, with Kepler returning to first base. And now taken for a ball, 2-2. Had Dozier hit that ball at Fenway Park, it would have been a home run. It would have probably sliced on the other side of the pole. Tap, foul.
Well, both pitchers navigating without giving up a hit so far. Couple walks for Vargas, one walk for Irvin Santana. But we're not seeing the ball squared up very well here tonight so far.
Two. And now a full count. Mauer on deck. Reds have had two base runners. Sano with a 2-out walk in the first, and Kepler now with a 1-out walk in the third. Kepler goes, and the pitch grounded to short, and Escobar throws to first, so sending the runner. At least got the Twins a runner into scoring position and may have prevented a double play.
Well, that's in the hands of Paul Mahler, the manager. He gets Max Kepler started in a hit and run situation, and I think he understands that there's not a lot of scoring opportunities so far. Joe Mauer is the one guy that has hit so well here at Kauffman Stadium over his career, and he's got good numbers against Vargas. Coming into today's game, 14 for 36, a 389 batting average.
Mauer hit a ground ball right to Hosmer his first time up. Down and away, ball one. A lot of Joe's big time numbers against an inferior pitching staff.
You can see Vargas, the all-time Ben Zobrist, but right behind him, Joe Mauer.
That's on the outside corner, 1-1. Couple of walks in there in Joe's matchups with Vargas. 37 at bats, only 2 strikeouts. So we'll see what Mauer can get done here with the Twins in search of a 2-out run producing hit. 2-1.
Well, because they're in their own division, I think the Royals are one of those teams that know Joe Mauer better than some teams, and they've got Lorenzo Cain shaded way over in left, kind of in the alleyway of left center field. Gordon's shaded towards the line. A big gap in right center, and still plenty of room down the right field line.
Fastball on the outside corner. Yeah, we've seen the Royals swing their right fielders about 45 feet farther out into the gap, but here against a finesse left-hander, they're protecting the foul line a little bit.
Well, that's just in case he makes a mistake in. Joe can turn on it, and I think if it was more of a power type pitcher, they'd have him shaded more towards right field, or excuse me, center field.
2-2 to Mauer here in the third inning. Full count. Sano on deck.
That last pitch is a pitch that Vargas makes a living on. That slider that just goes straight down at the end. It's very, very slow. It's got good sink to it, but Joe not biting at all.
Tap foul. And now the Twins running up Vargas's pitch count a little bit. He's over 40. And the Twins still don't have a hit. Nor do they have a well hit ball. Dozier's opposite field foul ball to the foul pole, about the closest thing the Twins have had to solid contact. Another 3-2 to Mauer. Ball 4, and now Sano will have a chance with 2 men on base. Nice job by Mauer laying off some close pitches and not chasing, drawing a walk, and now the big man with a chance to do some damage.
Well, I think Vargas right there would prefer to pitch to Sano here, hoping that the younger player would be a little bit less patient at the plate and get to chase. Sano hasn't been hitting the ball all that well. They're very aware of those things. And Joe Mauer, they know what a good hitter he's been over the years, so they're going to put him on first here and pitch to Sano.
First pitch strike.
Well, there's Miguel's hot zone versus the Royals, and you know you got to throw in all the pitching staff. It's not just Vargas. I think it's more conducive to see the zones against a particular pitcher.
To the left field corner, a base hit. Kepler will score. Mauer slams on the brakes, and Sano delivers an RBI single. First hit of the ball game, and Sano's driven in his 54th run of the year.
Well, that's exactly what I was talking about in Miguel's first at bat. How Vargas's stuff is not going to blow him away. He got really gassed by some heat in Boston, but he stays on. See how his head stayed still on this pitch? His hands went down after a ball that was out of the zone. And that's because it's just something that he sees and recognizes. A lot of times you have such little, way less reaction time on that good fastball, but plenty of time to react on that one.
Here's Escobar, struck out swinging his first time up. First time that Escobar has been asked to hit cleanup. And he takes low, ball 1. Now Escobar, as you know, is not the biggest guy in the world, but he's been maybe the best hitter the Twins have had in the month of June. .510, 185 pounds. Inside 2-0.
Let's look at the point of contact here for Miguel. Look at the balls out of the strike zone, but see his focus. Watch, his head is down on the ball and his hands are out in front of the plate, and he's so strong he just lifts it up over the third baseman
toward the hole, and Moustakas cuts it off. They get the force at second. Sano with an awkward slide, but he's all right. He's delivered an RBI single. You're watching Twins baseball presented by State Farm. By Chevrolet, the #1 selling brand in the Twin Cities. And by State Farm, here to help life go right with the home and renter's protection you deserve. Miguel Sano with an RBI single to left after a couple of walks. The Twins have the first lead 1-0, and Irvin Santana will face Escobar, Gordon, and Merrifield in the Kansas City third. Santana had a long first inning, a much better second inning. He struck out 3, has yet to give up a hit. 40 pitches. And Escobar takes a fastball, strike 1.
You know, Dick, I want to go back to that RBI single for Sano there and talk about Vargas and what he was doing the previous at bat with Joe Mauer.
Breaking ball hit to right center. Kepler drifting back. 1 away.
Good job right there, getting an early out. I think Vargas recognized the situation, and he knows Joe Mauer and his ability to make contact, and he was just being extremely careful with Joe, hoping with the second to the last pitch that Joe would swing out of the zone, which he did not do, and he ends up walking him because he wants to take his chances with Miguel Sano. He makes the pitcher's pitch. He makes the pitch that he wants to make against Sano, but Sano so strong and kept his hands and eyes on the ball, is able to lift it. So it's a situation where Twins get a run because of the power and the strength of that young man at third base, but the pitcher does everything he's supposed to do. That's his game. That's all he can do. And so those kinds of situations, you just got to tip your hat to the other guy.
Big fly to right. And Kepler will wait a long time for this to come down. 2 down. A couple of quick outs for Santana, and he could use that. He's retired 7 men in a row. We'll bring up Whit Merrifield. You know, we tend to think of Sano's strength in terms of tape measure home runs because he's hit enough of those, but that strength comes in handy even when he doesn't square a ball up sometimes.
That's just it. It was off the end, and you know, he still was able to barrel it up in a ball that most guys are going to just hit a nice little ground ball back to the pitcher to the left side.
First pitch strike now to Merrifield. Santana struggled with his control in the first inning, a walk, a couple of other 3-ball counts, but he's looked razor sharp here the last couple innings. Slow breaking ball, left up a little bit, 1-1. Merrifield looks like a keeper for the Royals. He's put together a good year. Played a couple of different positions at second base tonight. Seen him at third base as well. Bunted at it, foul, 1-2. That's one of the few times that we've seen teams threaten to bunt in front of Sano. Now, he was playing deep at third base, but Miguel has made, not so much on bunts, but on bunt-like full swings, that charging play for a third baseman. He's made that so well, you don't see many teams trying to lay it down in front of him. That's the play they don't want him to try to make, because he makes it. 1-2.
Well, you bring up an excellent point, and you know, I take that and I really believe you're absolutely right on. Young players will build a reputation early in their careers, and the rest of the league adjusts because of that. What you do your first year sometimes dictates everything else after that.
3 lazy fly balls and an easy third for Santana. 9 pitches thrown in the inning.
On the mound, 2 starting pitchers before the All-Star break, both with 10+ wins and both with ERAs below 3. Now, it's been 15 years. Back in 2002, Derek Lowe for Boston took the mound against Tom Glavine of Atlanta. This is really the 5th time only now since 1974 where that has happened. 2 pitchers, 10+ wins, sub-3 guys. See that matchup there? Lowe would go on to win the World Series the next in 2 more years. And of course, this matchup here has lived up to the hype so far.
It has indeed. Thank you, Kevin. A couple of walks by Vargas in the 3rd inning, and then a 2-out single.
Hey, Gorgie, I got some work for you to do. I know there's been a lot more matchups with guys with 10+ wins. Just throw out the ERA part of that.
10+ wins. I'm going to get to work on that.
Yeah,
Thank
I know
goodness
that's
I've
happened a lot more. It's just that.
Were you involved in any of that?
Well, that's kind of where I was hinting there, Gorgie. Who the heck? I never had an ERA under 2, so.
1-1 to Castro.
I'll go to work.
Polanco and Rosario will also hit this inning. Castro, it's a big pop-up.
Where'd it go?
Over by the Royals dugout and out of play. Had some tall ones here. The fly ball hit to Kepler off the bat of Gordon was a mile in the air.
Watching Alex Gordon hitting batting practice today, a little different than what we saw early in the year. He was sending balls up there so deep in right field. Of course, it's batting practice, but you didn't see that bat speed early in the year.
Right. 1-2 to Castro. 2-2. Mentioned the Tigers-Indians game was already postponed by rain before we threw first pitch here. They couldn't reschedule it for a doubleheader tomorrow because they, like the Twins and Royals, already have a doubleheader scheduled for tomorrow. 2-2. Twins have had 5 postponements. Tomorrow will be the 4th doubleheader of 5, and it seems like a lot, and it is. Then you look at the Rochester team, the Twins AAA team tonight. They were postponed for the 11th time. They've had 5 rain delays too. And Castro waited as long as he could. He still swung and missed one away. RBI Baseball 2017 is out now for Xbox One, PS4, iOS, and Android. You can enjoy fast-paced pick-up and play MLB action packed with all your favorite MLB teams, players, ballparks, and much more. Your breakout MLB season is here. You better come ready to play. Learn more at RBIGame.com. Here's Polanco. Hit a fly to left. His first time up. Strike one called.
Might sound crazy. I know there's so many people that are impressed with high velocity and the power arms, but I really enjoy watching a guy like Vargas pitch. You know, I had a great friend, great teammate in Toronto, Jimmy Key, who was a finesse left-hander. I saw him pitch a complete game in 2 hours and 10 minutes up in Toronto once, and I thought it was the greatest game I ever saw pitch because he threw under 90 pitches to get a complete game. And Vargas has got that kind of ability. He's given up just the 1 hit, and that created the 1 run. That's where we stand right now.
Polanco taps it out of the reach of Vargas. Escobar picks it up and fires. And Hosmer caught the ball and tagged Polanco, kind of reaching back for his left lower back. Near collision at first base, 2 down.
Well, great play on both ends right there. Escobar has to get rid of this ball quickly. Gets by Vargas. He barehands it on the run, throws it. And then Hosmer, and I think what happened is Polanco had his arm up in the air trying to get out of the way, and Hosmer hit his arm and tweaked his back a little bit. And you could see him right there grabbing his left side, so hopefully he's going to be okay.
Rosario, the batter, 2 down in the 4th. Again, the Twins putting the left-handers out there because left-handers, frankly, have had a lot of success against Vargas. Left-handers hitting .329 against Vargas, and right-handers hitting more than 100 points less than that. And now a ball, 1-1. So when we've seen Paul Molitor sit Rosario against some left-handers, even though he's got a high batting average, it's a matter of production and not hits. And Rosario just hasn't been very productive with now 67 at bats and 1 run batted in.
I get the sense that Eddie Rosario's going to really struggle against a guy like this because he throws so much off-speed stuff. Vargas is going to have to make a mistake up for Eddie to do anything because he loves to tomahawk those pitches up. But see how his front side is just gone? He's got his leg. He's opening up so quick. He's trying to pull something here, and if Vargas just stays soft away, Eddie's really not going to be able to do much with it.
2-2. And a roller to the right side. Easy play for Merrifield. And a much better 4th inning for Vargas as the Twins go down 1-2-3. Get caught up thanks to Toyota.
Well, after a couple walks, 2 outs, Miguel Sano hits a pitcher's pitch, scoring Max Kepler with the only hit of this game so far. It's been all pitching. Jason Vargas, 4 innings pitched, only giving up the 1 hit. And his mound opponent, Irvin Santana, no hits through 3 innings as he comes to the mound here in the bottom of the 4th. So it's been a pitcher's duel just like we had talked about.
Rookie Jorge Bonifacio will lead things off in the 4th, then Lorenzo Cain and Eric Hosmer. On the outside corner, 50th pitch for Santana, and more than half of them coming in the 1st inning. Bonifacio drew a walk when Santana was struggling with his control, 1-1. Santana looking for his 11th win of the year. You'd probably have to say that Chris Sale would be the favorite to start the American League for the American League in the All-Star game. One dumped over Mauer's head into right field, a base hit. Bonifacio has the first Kansas City hit. A little doink, barely making it onto the outfield grass. So with Sale perhaps the front runner, Vargas and Santana could plead their cases with those numbers as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any manager that would keep either one of these guys from being in the starting rotation. It's just that they may not start because you tend to like to throw a power pitcher out there to start a game. But all 3 pitchers have been excellent this first half. Irvin's having fun over there with Bonifacio. You know, that ball wasn't hit hard. It's where it was hit. It was placed properly, kind of served out there. And quite honestly, Miguel Sano's ball wasn't hit all that hard into left field. So the 2 hits in this game so far have been soft ones.
Down and away ball 1 to Cain, who struck out after a long battle with Santana in the 1st. Now you started the 1991 All-Star game, right? Partially instead of Scott Erickson.
Right? Yep. Scotty got hurt just before the game, and like a fool, I
back to Santana. Fires to Dozier, and the throw goes into center field. And Buxton's throw coming to 3rd. 1st and 3rd, and the Twins make a big mistake on what should have been a double play grounder. An error charge to Santana, and the Royals are in business with nobody out.
Well, I really think it was more of a case where Brian Dozier didn't get his feet properly set. It's almost like he was stretching like a first baseman straight towards Santana instead of standing more straight up to receive a ball to his left. He got stretched out and the ball got by him because he couldn't move to his left.
If the throw's to the base, though.
But see what I'm saying? He's kind of overweight on the shortstop side of the bag. And I'm not blaming either guy. I mean, it was a throw that should have been placed chest high. You always want to try to hit the guy in the letters.
Here's Hosmer. That's deep to the left field corner. Is there some slice on it?
Fair ball.
3-run home run. There was no slice on it, and the Royals.
Well, Miguel Sano's looking into the dugout saying, you're going to have to check that. He's standing on the line just like the 3rd base umpire, Mike Everett. And so I'm sure Paul wants to at least take a look, and he's going to review it.
And a disheartening minute here at Kauffman Stadium with an error. And they will take a look at it. Again, this is not a challenge. This is a umpire review of a home run ball, much like the one we had in the Dozier at bat a little while ago. And a hushed silence hitting the crowd here. We'll see whether this home run call stands or not.
Unlike the one that was hit down the right field line, this one was near the top of the foul pole. The crowd's reacting.
Yeah, I think it's a 3-run home run. On the scoreboard here, the video board, they're showing the ball pass in front of the foul pole, I think, is what I see. just as much fair as Dozier's was foul. You can see right at the very top of your screen the ball passing in front of the foul pole, which means it's a fair ball and a 3-run home run. Going back to back.
I don't know how that can be fair. I'm seeing the screen.
It's in front of the screen.
Well, then it would have hit the screen. So I'm thinking that ball's coming from the foul side of the screen, and you're seeing the screen and the ball behind the screen.
Well, this shot is taken from a
See what I'm
first base.
saying right there? That ball would have hit the screen somewhere in this area had it been fair.
Well, it's not on the other side of the foul pole.
I'm just saying, I think it comes down from an angle like that.
Yep.
It's a home run.
Well, back-to-back pitches. Santana has a comebacker to the mound that should have been a double play, and on the very next pitch, Hosmer somehow keeps that ball inside the foul pole for a 3-run home run. Nobody out. 3-1 Kansas City, and now Salvador Perez. Perez struck out swinging his first time up. How, as a left-handed batter, can you hit that ball without any slice on it? Now, there was some wind blowing from the left field pole to the right field pole.
Well, that all happened so darn quickly.
Crew chief review confirming the home run, and now a ball hit to the gap. Kepler will cut it off, and the Royals, after Bonifacio's little flared hit into right field, have strung some things together here.
Now, I guess if we're watching the ball here, way up in this corner by the Hall of Fame,
right there,
the ball is coming down, and you can see there that it stays fair. So that's a great job by our camera crew to catch that there.
Disappears behind the pole from that angle.
Right.
Here is Moustakas, popped up into short center field to Dozier. And fouled back, a pitch left up. Should mention that, yeah, the Twins had a tough night of travel and got to the hotel about 4 in the morning. But Santana flew in yesterday afternoon, so he's not the least bit affected by the lateness of the night last night, and was cruising along here until Bonifacio just shoveled one into right field. Missing inside, 1-1. Snap bat, and the 90% of the bat ended up sailing over Soler in the on-deck circle. Wow. 1-2. Pay attention. Many of these Kansas City players, including Moustakas and Hosmer, and Kane, Escobar, free agents after the year. Weak pop-up. Mauer near the Kansas City dugout makes a nice catch, reaching over the railing. One down, and now Soler.
Irvin Santana and his catcher Jason Castro really staying in well on Moustakas. They pitched him in there in the first out, and he stayed in there, and he kept chasing it. That ball really got inside on him, and he was able to pop it up. Nice play by Joe Mauer.
So now Soler called out on strikes his first time up. Inside, ball 1. Royals getting 3 hits this inning. And then, of course, course, Santana's error set up the big 3-run home run. Now a hard ground ball right up the middle of base hit. 4th hit of the inning. This one off the bat of Soler. 1st and 2nd one down. We'll bring up Escobar. Twins fans, if you can't catch the games on TV, you can stream them live on your mobile device with Fox Sports Go. Download the app, take Fox Sports North and Twins baseball with you wherever you go. And Neil Allen to the mound.
You don't see this every day. I think this might be the first trip to the mound Neil's made with Ervin Santana out there this year. And he just give him a little breather. I know it's probably very lighthearted conversation. A lot of times with a veteran, pitching coaches won't even talk about pitching. They'll talk about other subjects, but wants to give him a chance to kind of regroup here and make good pitches.
Santana visibly upset with his throwing error, and then the very next pitch is hit for a 3-run home run. And now a couple of singles after the home run. Here's Escobar, hit a fly ball to Kepler his first time up.
Well, you mentioned, you know, the focus, the concentration after you make an error for a pitcher. Sometimes it's really hard to come right back, and we're trying to find the pitch. We will get it to you. I'm curious to see if that ball was up out of the zone. Hosmer hit a pitch that I think he just tomahawked, and I need to refresh it myself. But
looked like it was up and away.
Yeah, here it is, and it was up out of the zone. It was over the plate, but way up, and he somehow kept his bat above the ball and shot it the other way.
Down and away, 1-1. .65 pitches for Santana, and he's facing his 7th batter. There's only 1 out on the board. Tapper toward the hole, bleeding through. Perez around 3rd, and he'll score. A 6-hopper between Sano and Polanco. And the Royals take a 4-1 lead.
Well, that ball was hit so softly, but in the perfect spot, that once it got by Polanco, Eddie Rosario had a long way to go, and you don't see Sal Perez, or you don't ever really think about Salvador Perez as a fast runner, but it's about the way he went into 3rd base. He went in full blast into 3rd, turned the corner, and his 3rd base coach just waved him on in.
5 hits for the Royals, all of them this inning. Santana was cruising through 3 with a 1-0 lead, but now it's 4-1 Kansas City, and here's Alex Gordon. Checked his swing, not in time, 1 strike.
Now we're seeing something pretty unique. I don't remember, you correct me if I'm wrong, has he had a big blowout type inning at all this year? He's given up a few runs in a few games.
Of course, he gave up 4 in 1 swing to Pujols on his 600th home run.
Oh yeah.
Field fly rule might be called here if Dozier can get under it, and instead it's Buxton. The infield fly rule was called, even though the putout was made by the center fielder, and I'm not sure that's the way that rule is supposed to be called. Jordan Baker made the call. Dozier never got established under that pop-up, I don't think. Buxton called him off for out number 2. And here is the 9th man to bat, Whit Merrifield.
I think you're right about this one. Brian Dozier's going to go over his right shoulder, left shoulder, but he never really gets parked underneath this. I guess he could have been, and that was the decision the umpire made. He was slowing down, and then he just gave way to Buxton.
Merrifield flips it foul over the Kansas City dugout, 1 strike.
And with all honesty, I think that was Buxton's ball to take. You want the guy coming in on the ball, and he has the better chance of making a good throw than the guy going back on the ball.
Backpedaling, Dozier catches it, he falls down, the runners move up.
Perhaps.
1 strike. With Jason Vargas now being staked to a 3-run lead at least. 1-1.
Well, the 9th man being plated here, so the Royals bat around this half inning.
30 pitches this inning for Santana. I'm glad to hear you say that, because there's a debate as to what constitutes a bat around inning. To me, if 9 men bat, they bat it around. Don't need a 10th man to bat. Base hit right field. Kepler charges. Soler around third. Throw to the plate. Way offline, and everybody moves up a base. And the Royals have at least 5 runs against Irvin Santana. All of it set up with Santana's throwing error.
Well, this ball left up, the slider that he's been burying down in the zone just flattens out. It's left up. Merriweather going the other way. A good piece of hitting for him. And then Max Kepler, with the throw up the line, allows Merriweather to go on into second base. Or excuse me, Merrifield go into second base, and that allows Escobar to go around to third.
Kepler with a poor throw, not lined up with either home plate or the cutoff man, and now a hit to the outfield will add 2 more. Here is Bonifacio, who started all this, flaring one just barely onto the outfield grass to right, deep to the corner, but it will twist foul. Six hits in the inning. Bonifacio's is the softest hit of the inning, and it was the first hit of the inning.
Well, he had an older brother that played here in Kansas City. He also played for the Royals when I was up there working, Emilio Bonifacio. A lot different body type. Emilio shorter and way quicker.
1 strike to Bonifacio. There's a pop-up. And Mauer over by the Kansas City dugout again, and this one is on the roof. 0-2.
Well, there's activity now in the Twins pen. Alan Busnitz got to get up and start throwing. Pitch count for Irvin's climbing, and it's just been a rough half inning for him. And like Dick had mentioned, this all started with a throwing error in a possible double play situation.
2 strikes to Bonifacio. This is the type of inning the Royals had in their World Series years, back-to-back World Series years. Not just the run scoring and the hits, but the lack of swings and misses.
Yeah,
you know, they got to the World Series back-to-back years because they put the ball in play.
We just came from Boston. The Red Sox are a team that does the same thing. They don't strike out a lot. This team doesn't strike out a lot. They force the issue, and I think there's always been a common denominator with teams that are postseason bound, is they make you make the mistakes, and then once you do, they capitalize on them.
One and 2 to Bonifacio. Another foul ball. That's what makes the Astros so scary good. A couple years ago, you could strike them out at will, but individually they are so much better. They're among the toughest teams now to strike out. In fact, scanning the numbers, they have the fewest strikeouts in the American League, and just 2 years ago they set the record for strikeouts by a team.
That's because they had Chris Carter.
That's true.
He had 200 by himself.
1 and 2, but guys like Springer,
yeah,
you know,
they used to swing harder, but they're banking better contact, and that's what it's all about.
There's a half swing on strike 3. 10 men bat, and half of them score, and the Royals have a 5-1 lead. Pepsi fans of the game. A lot of Twins fans making the trip down here via 35, Interstate 35 down here, hoping that this game can turn around at least one more time, with the Royals turning it around in the bottom of the 4th inning. Byron Buxton will lead off the 5th. He tried to bunt on the first pitch from Vargas, and Vargas made the play and threw him out. Buxton, Kepler, and Dozier. And there is a pitch outside, ball 1. Not an enviable spot for the Twins, who going to try to find a way to raise a knot on Vargas's head here. 2-0.
Well, if they're going to get back into this game, they're going to have to do it one hitter at a time. Buxton needs to get on base. He can create havoc of his own, and they can't try to do it all with one swing.
3-0. What got Vargas in trouble, and what led to the Twins' run in the 3rd inning, was his control issues. He walked a couple guys and then gave up a 2-out single.
That's his game. He does everything to try to get you to be over anxious and chase.
Wow.
So the Twins are going to have to be patient. There's the leadoff walk that the Twins can and will appreciate. Fastest guy on the team at first base.
A 4-pitch walk, and now here is Kepler, who drew a walk. Kepler had to earn his walk. It came right after the Buxton bunt attempt, and then Kepler took off on what would have been a double play grounder in the Dozier at bat. Mauer walks a no single, and the Twins had a lead. Down and away, ball 1, and Perez is going to try to calm down Vargas, who I'm sure is almost as upset about the walk to Buxton as Santana was about the throwing error.
Yeah, he's not a kid. He knows and understands the situation. You get a 4-run lead, a gift really, and your team scores you 5 runs. You can't come out and start throwing balls and letting people gain base without any kind of effort.
And there's a strike. 79 miles per hour. Kepler took it for a strike. Twins with some work to do. Plenty of time to get it done.
You just saw the speed range there for Jason Vargas, and he's not a hard thrower. He'll top out at 88, 89, maybe on a good day 90, but he's a soft thrower.
Doubtful that the Twins would do anything with Buxton, down by 4 runs, but it is just the 5th inning. Vargas has checked him twice. Now Kepler swings at an 80-mile-per-hour pitch, 1-2.
And I'm not sure that pitch was a strike.
And that looked very similar to the pitch that Mauer took for ball 4 in his walk. Breaking ball. Close pitch, 2-2. And Kepler strikes out. 1 down with Buxton at first, and now Dozier. Dozier nearly put the Twins up 2-0. He made a bid for an opposite field home run, and as we said after the Hosmer home run, Dozier's was foul by as much as Dozier's was foul as much as Hosmer's was fair.
There you go.
And Perez on a close play, checking Buxton at first.
Salvador Perez came to the big leagues loving to do that, and he's still doing it. He loves to throw behind the runners over at first base and occasionally over at third base.
And you can come up with your own number as to how many runs that saves over the course of a season.
Well, it gives him a chance to throw the guy out. You're going to take less of a lead, especially your secondary lead, if you know a guy will throw behind you. And he's got a good arm. He doesn't have a great arm. I mean, there's guys that can steal off of him, but a lot of times it's off the pitcher more than it is off the catcher.
1 strike to Dozier. And now a ball. But if you're a runner, maybe your secondary lead is a step or two shorter. Maybe that keeps you from going from first to third on a single or from scoring from second on a double.
Yeah.
I guess I've always been puzzled why catchers don't do that more. The throw to first base, in this case, it's an unobstructed throw. It's 90 feet. It's not much further than the throw back to the mound.
Because in case of Buxton, if you get it by the first baseman, he's going to end up on third base. So you've got to make sure that you've got a guy that can receive it and is aware that you're throwing behind him. A lot of times, you not only catch the runner sleeping, you catch your first baseman sleeping.
1-2 to Dozier. He struck out in the first, hit a ground ball to short in the third after nearly hitting his home run. Popped up, it'll reach the seats. Twins are on a pace to hit 198 home runs this year, just a little bit off their pace of last year. There are 6 teams, and one of them, of course, the Kansas City Royals, 6 teams with fewer home runs than the Twins here at the end of June.
And what's funny is that Target Field has become the launching pad. One of the top cities to hit home runs in is Target Field.
Dozier with a base hit to center. A pitch up and away, waited for it. Buxton to second. And now Mauer will hit. And the Twins would love to respond with at least one on the board here in the 5th.
Ryan, Dozier got kind of the same pitch that Eric Hosmer hit off of Irvin Santana. This is a fastball up, and he fights it the other way. Didn't get quite the same result, but he ends up on base. 2 guys on with only 1 out. See the pitch. It's a breaking ball, but it stays up. Good patience there for Brian.
And now Mauer, who drew a walk his last time up. And to set up Sano for a big hit, and there's a first pitch strike. Twins have just 2 hits. Dozier single and Sano's RBI single, but Vargas has issued a season high 4 walks, including 2 of them in the 3rd inning. Strike 2.
Well, I was going to say before this at bat, he's not going to pitch Joe Mauer the same way here. He cannot afford to walk him. He's got to go after him. Joe hits it out. You give up 3 runs. He gets on base and Sano hits it out, tie game. So you've got to come after this guy right now.
Off the plate, 1-2. They face each other so often, all those at bats, and Joe's only struck out twice. And of course, as soon as I say it, Mauer will strike out, but I don't know what Vargas would do. I don't think he's going to get Joe to swing and miss and strike out.
Highly unlikely.
Joe's taken 2 strikes. Now he's taken a ball to center, and Kane drifts back, and Buxton will advance. 1st and 3rd now, 2 down. And it'll bring up Sano with second base open. Sano with a walk and an RBI single. We saw in Boston with Sano, less so in Cleveland because he missed a couple of games in Cleveland, but in Boston just an inordinate number of swings and misses.
And a lot of them, like I say, were on high fastballs, high heat fastballs.
And only Miguel is qualified to answer the question whether the All-Star balloting somehow made him press a little bit. Now that the balloting is over with, maybe he's more relaxed. Right back to the mound. And on 1 pitch, Sano is retired. The Twins leave 2 aboard in the 5th. his hand until this.
Well, a quick comebacker, and he's got himself probably a potential double play ball, but he throws it away. Bonifacio goes over to third, and then the next pitch, Eric Hosmer lifts one down the left field line that somehow stays fair. A 3-run homer. The Royals take the lead, and then they add on with a bunch of hits. Salvador Perez gets one. Lorenzo Cain up the middle. Alcides Escobar finds a hole. Salvador Perez never stops running. He scores. Merrifield goes to right with a pitch. And Solar scores. So 5-1 as we speak.
2 of the runs unearned for whatever that's worth. And here's Lorenzo Cain to start the 5th for Kansas City. And a first pitch strike. Cain reached down the fielder's choice. He hit the comebacker, and it was about as tailor-made as you could have. Cain runs well, but that was meant to be a double play ball, and the Twins instead didn't get any outs.
You know, in Irvin's defense, I'm going to just admit what I know is you work on that quite a bit in spring training. You take a lot of PFP, pitchers fielding practice in spring training, but you don't do it very often during the season. And you get so excited.
Even a veteran.
Anybody. You haven't practiced it at all. And you're in a game situation where you got a guy in first and the ball's all of a sudden in your glove before the runner takes 10 steps. And you know you got a double play. And it's hard to focus on that guy on the bag. You got to throw a strike just like you would to the catcher.
For just 1 year, veteran Kenny Rogers came to the Twins, and in that situation we saw him regularly step to the side, so he was not throwing up the slope of the mound. Yeah. And he would come off the mound and make that throw on flat ground. And I don't know whether that in any way could.
Well, that's a left-hander for you.
Outside, and now Cain draws a leadoff walk in the 5th. And that'll bring up Eric Hosmer.
Twins fans, don't forget at Twins home games, bring your Circle Me signs, and if you get circled, you may find yourself in the Minnesota Lottery's winner's circle, where you could win $100 worth of lottery scratch-off tickets courtesy of the Minnesota Lottery. A lot of Twins fans here tonight, as there always is here in Kansas City.
Hosmer, the batter, he lifted a pitch that was up out of the strike zone and somehow kept it fair down the left field line for a 3-run home run. And Santana makes him dance. Ball 1. This surge by the Royals, and if they hang out and win this game, they'll have put together a wonderful 17-9 month of June. But it has confused things considerably here in Kansas City, because after the 7-16 start, the presumption was that the Royals were going to very quickly go into sell mode to try to replenish the farm system and deal players like Hosmer, Moustakas, and Cain.
It is a touchy situation, because if they get back in the hunt, and they are, I mean, in my opinion, you're only 3 games out. You're not even to the All-Star game, 3.5 games out. You're in the hunt. But do they have enough to sustain the second half? Those will be questions that Dayton Moore will have to try to address, because they have a pile of free agents, and a lot of times you can move them at the trade deadline to contending teams, especially the guys you feel like you can't afford to keep. And they're going to have to make a decision. They're not going to keep every one of these guys here in Kansas City.
Chopped foul. They have the half their schedule left with the Indians, and they've won 5 of the 9 games. Two and 1. And an unassisted double play. Hosmer may have hit that line drive harder than he hit the home run, but Mauer ranging to his right with a great play.
Joe reacts so well over there at first base, gets off the bag, and then the ball not hit all that far from him, but he's still got to get his glove up in time. And you could see Cain knew that he was caught in no man's land. He just goes down to a knee and waits for the tag.
games left. Boston. Mitch Moreland won the Gold Glove at first base last year. Hosmer won it a couple years before that. And Mauer will get some votes. And I don't know whether Hosmer might retain the Gold Glove award, but Twins are blessed to have a really good fielding first baseman. Sano fires across, and Santana, despite the leadoff walk, faces only 3 men in the 5th.
By State Farm. It's a 5-1 game as we sail onto the top of the 6th. Here comes the cleanup hitter, guys. Eduardo Escobar had a big smile on his face when we talked about that. He said all his life he's never been the cleanup hitter. Paul Molitor joked and said he's going to try to protect Miguel Sano here with big Escobar behind Miguel Sano. And before we get to more on Escobar, Jack, I've been looking up some game logs. June 30th, 1991, Jack Morris beat Blackjack McDowell 3-0 at the Dome. You were 11-5 after that game, but McDowell was only 9-4, so close but no cigar. The time of that game, 2 hours, 12 minutes, as our cleanup hitter takes the first pitch outside.
Well, there was a silver lining then. Remember when games were under 2.5 hours?
No wonder these 3.5-hour marathons are so. Good news is the Twins don't play the Red Sox anymore. Boston games tend to go a little bit longer than anybody else.
They do.
1-1 to Escobar. Hardly your prototypical cleanup batter.
He's got to be excited though. Now he's got that in his repertoire of bragging.
Remember, I guess about 20 years ago, and the Royals weren't very good, but for a while they had a cleanup hitter, Bip Roberts. And it was my contention at the time, pop up near second base, that Bip is no nickname for a cleanup batter. I mean, we had the Killer, right, or Hammer and Hank. That's a nickname for a cleanup batter, but Bip?
How about Bump Wills?
He couldn't have ever batted cleanup, did he?
I don't imagine. I'm pretty sure he was an 8 or 9 hitter most of his career.
One down in the 6th. Here's Jason Castro. He's hit a fly ball to center, and he is struck out swinging.
Twins need base runners.
And Castro's got to go get his bat now. And you see that with finesse pitchers a lot, pulling the string. Castro lunging at a pitch off speed, breaking away from him. Twins are loading their lineup with the left-handed batters, and so far all they have from the lefties are 2 walks. Lefties have had some success against Vargas. Same swing, same result, except this time he held on to the bat. Royals with a big, ugly 5 spot in the 4th inning. Castro gaining on him. Got a piece.
Well, it seems like Vargas kind of settled it in after all those runs were scored. He came out and walked the leadoff man, Buxton. Had a couple base runners after 3 men were plated, but this inning, I think he's found his rhythm again.
2 strikes. Tap to first. Easy play for Hosmer. To the bag. 2 down. Twins have a chance yet today, if they can come back and win this game, to post their 3rd straight winning month. Now, in all 3 cases, it's just a game or 2 above 500, but the Twins haven't had 3 straight winning months since the end of the 2010 season.
Yeah, a winning month is a winning month, and you'd love to have them see them do that. They've got to come back and win this one, though, if it's going to happen.
2 down, and Polanco with a fly to left and a bouncer to short. Boy, it seems like no 2 pitches consecutively are close to the same speed. 77. Next one might be 84.
It might be the same pitch. It might even be the same location, but he changes speeds. We call that adding and subtracting.
It was a bunt foul. That was actually 78.
Yeah.
But now Polanco's behind in the count, 0-2.
And we've talked so much about Irvin being able to do that, and that's just a hitter really having a feel for hitters. Almost within their delivery, they can sense if a guy has sped up his body, or if he's being patient and almost looking off speed. And then, of course, you apply that extra little zip, giddy up if you think they're sitting off speed, and take a little off if you think they're out front. It's like a 6th sense.
You're talking about from the time the windup begins
look at his windup. Look at how slow and deliberate it is. He can sense if a hitter, and you're watching the glove, okay? Your focus is on the glove, but your eyes pick up things.
The ball hit to left, hit pretty well, but Gordon has it within range. 5 in a row set down by Vargas. He's enjoying a 5-1 lead.
Over the years, I mean, it's turned into one of my favorite parks.
The ballpark is great.
That place gets loud. It reminds me of football stadium.
The last couple of years, they've had some really good crowds and really good fans.
A fun experience, good energy with the crowd. Obviously, their team plays well there.
Like the fans, like the players, like the staff. I mean, everything about Kansas City is very professional, and they keep it classy.
Well, they do, and that's why when the Royals got to the World Series in back-to-back years, you know, just from being a couple states away, it was kind of hard not to root for them, you know?
Well, I like
great baseball town.
Yep. I like what Buxton said. They keep it classy. It's always been clean here. And There's no old paint over old bricks, and I hope Gorgie's listening.
One strike.
I should say new paint over old bricks.
Well, we've told the story before, and I told it to Kevin on the way into the ballpark on the team bus today, how when they designed this back in the early 70s, the original plan was to have a roof on rails between the football stadium and the baseball stadium. On a beautiful night like tonight, the roof would have been rolled back over Arrowhead Stadium. And then if we had some weather for one or both games of the doubleheader tomorrow, they would just roll it across, and they, for budget reasons, had to get rid of it. But they tell me that the rails are still under the blacktop in the parking lot. 1-2 to Moustakas and a foul back. Santana trying to eat up at least one more inning here with the doubleheader coming tomorrow, and it's a split doubleheader, 1 o'clock and 7 o'clock, roughly.
7:30, isn't it? Second one.
7:30, yes. 7:35 first pitch.
There you go.
Because of a rainout we had here back in April. 1-2. 2-2. And then the Twins have one to make up in Chicago in August. Twins have called up Felix Jorge to start the second game tomorrow. Jose Barrios will pitch the first game. We've been told that he prefers his first name, even though it's spelled Felix. Driven deep to right field.
That's not good.
Home run for Moustakas, number 21. And with a close to sellout crowd here, it almost feels and sounds like October again in Kansas City.
They've had a lot to cheer about over the last 5 years here in Kansas City, and they've really shown their true colors, their true royal blue colors, in supporting this ball club.
11th pitch of the at-bat, and it was hammered over the fence in right center, and now shaving the outside corner to Soler. It's 0-1.
Well, 95th pitch, so you kind of get the feeling that this probably be the last inning if he can get through it for Irvin. Again, somebody throwing out there in the Twins pen.
Soler singled, and the Royals got 5 runs on 6 hits in the 4th. 1-2. You're not going to pitch a shutout every time out, but what have you seen from Santana? We saw him go 4-0 with a microscopic sub-1 ERA in April.
Well, one thing I've seen here tonight is he doesn't have the velocity he had in the first month. He was touching 95 in that first month with his fastball, and that really complements his off-speed stuff. He does get Soler to strike out there, but tonight I think it's been more of a case where he just had that one inning that everything that could go bad did, and focus kind of gets away from you for a while. Moustakas had the probably hardest hit ball here as he gets the leadoff home run in this half inning.
Escobar, the batter, with 1 down. In June, 6 starts, a 4-inning start, a 5-inning start, another 5, a 6. This one looks like it'll be 6, and that might be it. Then the 9-inning 4-hit shutout over the Giants. The left center, and that's got some carry. Rosario and Buxton chase it. Hitting the warning track. Escobar digs for third. Throw is not in time. A perfectly placed drive to the gap in left center. Escobar has his second hit.
Well, I think Buxton gets a little confused here. He looks momentarily at Rosario. Neither one of them, though, are going to be able to get the ball. It finds a perfect spot there out in left center. And then on the relay, Jorge Polanco just momentarily bobbles the ball. I think there might have been a chance to throw him out at third base. See as this ball is hit into the left center field gap. Buxton ends up getting the relay in, but Paul Molitor is going to come out, and that'll be the end of the day for Irvin.
Well, the Royals feasted on Santana after the error, and it's anybody's guess what might have happened had the error not occurred. Alan Buznitz will come in to pitch in the 6th. Control in the first inning, but seemed locked in. He had a 1-0 lead, and the throwing error on a double play grounder, and as they did when they got to the playoffs and went to the World Series, the Royals pounced.
Yep, on the opportunities. So Irvin definitely will not win his first game since 2010 as a visiting player. Hopefully the Twins still aren't out of this ball game. Buznitz is going to come in here and ask to get a couple outs, and he's a guy that throws in the high 90s. Very, very easy 96-mile-an-hour fastball there to Alex Gordon.
Infield in for the Twins. There's one out. Buznitz with the 96, 97-mile-per-hour heat and an improving breaking ball. At least that's the hope. Royals getting their first look at him, of course. Tomahawk to right. And Kepler makes a running catch, but tagging from third and scoring is Escobar. Buznitz left it up, and Gordon drove it almost to the wall. So the log complete on Santana. 5 earned runs, a couple of unearned runs in 5 1/3 innings. 2 down, and Whit Merrifield will bat. Santana's next start will be against the Angels at Target Field. And you had starts like this, it's just got to eat you up inside when you have in a big game too. You have a rough start as Santana has had here, and then you have to sit. You have your bullpen, work off some of the frustration, but you have to sit and wait 4 or 5 days to start again.
That's the frustrating part about being a starting pitcher, is when you have that short or poor performance, you've got a lot of time to think about it, and you want to get right back out there. That's the beauty of being an everyday player or a reliever that knows that almost every day they could be called upon.
Now, what'd you do to deal with the frustration?
Well,
Bert said, the next day he'd just go run, and he'd run and he'd run and he'd run.
Well, we did a lot of running in those days, and we had to. You just really have to look back and reflect, and if you're honest with yourself, there's always reasons why you don't do well, and then you just try to say to yourself, all right, is it a mechanical thing? Was it a focus thing? What can I do better next time? And you try to go work on that when you throw your bullpen the next time.
On the ground, Buznitz gets the 2 outs needed to get the Twins off the field in the 6th, but the Royals add 2 more runs and knock out Irvin Santana. Royals is 36, held by Steve Balboni. So Moustakas, provided he stays a Royal for the balance of the season and stays healthy, a pretty good pace to break the record.
Well, I had Kyle Hammer look it up, and we knew that Steve Balboni got those 36 in 1985, and I said, well, I had to have contributed, and I did. He got me once then, 3 times overall.
Rosario finally got a floater up that he wanted to hit halfway to St. Louis, and he fouled it back. 1 strike. Rosario's 0 for 2 against Vargas. Not sure what the do we have a delay because something happened to Rosario or what? It appears that way. I don't know if he overswung or what happened there, but Perez and Vargas
time, yeah.
And even the home plate umpire getting Rosario a chance to recover from something. 1 strike. And now a ball. Vargas a free agent after the year. Nice pickup by Hosmer. Vargas right where he should be. 1 down. Fox brings you the Grand Casino story of the game.
It all kind of come unravel in the bottom half of the 4th inning. That play right there, a missed opportunity followed by the first pitch Eric Hosmer sees, and that's what puts the Royals up 3-1 at the time. Sal Perez continues the hitting, finding the gap out in right center. Lorenzo Cain hits one up the middle as Alcides Escobar finds a hole, and Sal Perez comes around and scores on that one. And then Merrifield hits the ball to right, and that scores Jorge Soler. So it was a big inning for Irvin. 5 runs scored, 3 runs that were earned in that inning.
Buxton takes a strike inside the corner for a strike. Buxton tried to bunt on the first pitch of the 3rd inning. Vargas made the play and threw him out easily. Then Buxton drew a leadoff walk and ended up getting as far as 3rd base in the 5th. High fly, short left field. And we're seeing more contact from Buxton, but the hits are still hard to come by. And a pitcher like Vargas, he's just fine with that. Lazy pop up to short left field and an easy 2nd out.
There hasn't been a lot of hard contact at all tonight for the Twins.
Yeah, it's not just Buxton.
Limited to 2 hits. Dozier got a ball that was hit back in the 5th inning, and Buxton got the only RBI hit. That was back in the 3rd inning, and he just lifted over softly to left field.
Kepler drives it hard to right field, and there to make the catch is Bonifacio. Maybe the hardest hit ball tonight, and it's a quick 3rd out in the 7th. break. And Justin Smoke with his 22nd of the year. Don't sleep on the Blue Jays because they're trying to get above 500. They're in last place, but they had a terrible start and they're trying to get back to the 500 mark. Adam Duvall with his 19th home run. And our good friend Denard Span having a good month of June. Good to see him do well. It's great to see him when we were out there on our last road trip. Alan Buznitz got the last 2 outs of the 6th inning, and now he'll be asked to pitch in the 7th. Buznitz was with Taylor Rogers and me when we went to that luncheon in Boston, and Buznitz loves to tell the story about in his hometown, Farmington, Georgia, about all that's there as a post office. That's how small it is. So he truly is a small.
I know a guy that was born in a town like that.
I tell him I've got him beat because I know there's less than 100 people in the town I grew up in, but it's really a remarkable story. He was with the Angels system, and now here he is with what looks to be some components to being a good relief pitcher. He's thrown strikes. There's a breaking ball hung a little bit, but it was headed for the strike zone.
Well, it appears he's got a lot of heart. He's a young guy that is given an opportunity here, and he's been throwing the ball quite nicely. He's got a power arm, and that's something the Twins are excited about. You kind of wonder what the scenario might unfold like, though, tonight here. He might be asked to finish this ball game, and he might do a good job and still might find himself out for a few days because of the doubleheader coming up.
It's unfortunate, but that's kind of what got Ryan Presley sent out after a doubleheader. It was like, well, he's been pitching well, but he can't help us tomorrow. We might need help tomorrow, so we have to make a move. And that's, the Twins aren't the only team that find themselves in that situation, and that's where the Royals are in good shape now because their starter gave them 7 innings. 2-2 to Bonifacio. Foul back.
I found it interesting today with Paul Molitor and Ned Yost. Ned apparently not letting Paul know who the 26th man would be tomorrow because they have to fill that 26th man too, and a little reluctant to tell him because, you know, and I can just understand Ned's thinking, well, if I tell you, then you'll get all the information you need or can gather in a short period of time and use it towards your advantage.
From the hole, Polanco with a great play.
Oh,
Jorge Polanco from the hole, ending up in foul territory, throwing out Bonifacio.
well, that was probably the strongest throw Polanco has made all year long, going to his right, but he kind of circles the ball just enough so that he doesn't have to do that cheater jump and throw, and he plants his back foot, gets enough on it. What a play right there by Jorge Polanco.
Royals won't challenge it. Yeah, usually from this position we'll see him one-hop a throw, but this time airborne all the way. A tremendous play by Polanco. One down, and now Kane with a big swing and a miss. 7 errors for the Twins shortstop. So much concern, maybe outside the organization, but concern about the left side of the infield coming out of spring training. And Polanco's done well, and so has Sano. This Twins team has, well, been in first place for most of the year and above 500 for all of it, largely due to the much better defense both in the outfield and the infield. And a solid single to center off the bat of Kane.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Minnesota Twins and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent of the Minnesota Twins.
And now Eric Hosmer, who hit a pitch up out of the strike zone down the left field line for a 3-run home run after the biggest play of this game. Irvin Santana's throwing error into center field in the 4th inning. Sounded like he cracked his bat.
Yeah, he got in on him a little bit.
Hanging up there for Kepler. And that's out number 2. Partial season ticket packages are now available in the Delta Sky 360 Club and Catch. Become a Twins season ticket holder today. Become part of the Sweet Spot program. Learn more at twinsbaseball.com or by calling 800-33-TWINS. Unless this game gets dramatically turned around, the Royals will be just a game behind the Twins. And both teams will, well, the Twins will have lost a half game to the Indians, who were rained out today, and the Royals will pick up a half game on the Indians. So the margins will be 2 for the Twins and 3 for the Royals behind Cleveland. And the top 4 teams in the Central will each play a doubleheader against another team in the division tomorrow. 1 strike to Perez. Sano can play for the second hop because Perez doesn't run well, and Sano has a rifle for an arm, and it's a scoreless 7th for Business. It was a record-setting month for home runs. Doesn't surprise me, but 1,070 home runs hit in 1 month.
And that was without Blyleven and Morris pitching.
Wow, that's a lot of home runs.
Well, there was an article today in the USA Today about the balls maybe being spun a little different. And,
wound a little tighter, perhaps?
Well, the seam's not quite as high, so yeah, that all adds to it. Who knows? Well, somebody knows, but we don't.
Right. Here's a Dozier against Peter Moyland, and there's strike 1. Seven good innings for Vargas. The Twins got just 1 run against him. Dozier takes a ball, 1-1.
Well, Moylan's another one of those guys that would like to get you to chase. He's pretty much a breaking ball pitcher. He's not completely sidearm, not completely overhand, but he bends down more sidearm than anything else.
Moustakas can make that play awfully well, and he does. Dozier retired, one away. First time Vargas has faced the Twins. This is the 4th series between the two teams, and he looked very good again tonight.
Well, he really relied on the breaking ball, and it's just a great example here of all these pitches that are breaking balls, but different speeds, different locations, changing eye levels, changing speeds. That's what makes him. And then when he's heading the count, quite a few of these are out of the zone. So a pretty darn good outing for Jason Vargas. 7 innings pitched, only 2 hits allowed, 1 earned run, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts. So he'll take that. It probably will make him a 12-game winner.
Mauer, the batter, 0 for 2 with a walk. That was a long time ago, but Moylan, of course, used to be property of the Minnesota Twins, and then just kind of disappeared for a handful of years, went back to Australia, but he was with the Gulf Coast League Twins in '96 and '97. Sailing outside, 2-0. It was a time when the Twins had 16 players in their system from Australia. 16. Merrifield scoops it. 2 down. The can't miss event of the summer hits South Beach. Baseball's biggest stars take the field for the MLB All-Star Game July 11th, only on Fox. It's presumed that Miguel Sano will be there, either by being voted in by the fans or being an at-large pick. I would think, well, Irvin Santana's performance tonight didn't help, certainly, but I would think he would get some strong consideration, and I think a sleeper on the pitching side, 2 of them actually, Jose Barrios and Brandon Kinsler.
Well, Kinsler, I got to believe, is in the hunt, and Barrios, even though he hasn't been here all year or all this first half, boy, he's been very good for the Twins. So unfortunately, they can't keep everybody, and I think his win number might be a little less than some of the starters. But you know, baseball's got a strong push nowadays about the youth in the game,
pushing new stars.
Yeah,
absolutely,
they love to do that, and Barrios is certainly a good representative of the young pitching in the game.
Barrios will take the mound tomorrow. He's 7-2 with a sub-3 ERA and a sub-200 opponent batting average. And Luke Farrell, the son, one of the sons of John Farrell, the Boston Red Sox manager, is going to pitch tomorrow for the Royals. Sano with a half swing and a strike. And I had no idea that he was that close to the big leagues. I spent some time talking with John when we were in Boston. I had no idea that Luke would be pitching one of the games when we got to Kansas City.
I don't think any of us had any idea. Had we? We probably talked to him about it.
Sano strikes out looking, and the Twins go down 1-2-3 in the 8th. series to get started after losing 3 out of 4 to Boston. Just the 3rd series on the road that the Twins have lost this year. But it is what it is. 7-1 Kansas City, and now the Royals will hit in the bottom of the 8th against Alan Buznitz.
Now, Paul Molitor talks about it all the time, that baseball is a game that is full of opportunities, and for Buznitz, this is a great opportunity. He's had a really good outing so far. He needs to finish 3 more outs and be pretty proud of what he's been able to accomplish here.
And then perhaps, as you pointed out, maybe the harsh reality of the business, because by going as long as he's gone today, he wouldn't be of any help tomorrow.
I think players today understand that a lot better because it happens so often. This whole shifting of the roster.
Oh, under the glove of Buznitz. And Moustakas pounded one right into the ground, and it took a funny bounce and ended up bounding toward the mound, and then it hit, I think, the slope of the mound and skipped under Buznitz's glove.
Well, this ball had tremendous spin. As I'm watching the ball hit the ground, I thought it almost hit the toe of Moustakas, but it wasn't the toe, it was the spin that was coming off it. Watch how this ball ricochets back. That's the yips right there. You got to keep your head down.
Fox Tracks presented by Carrier. And an error charged to Buznitz. Deep to left. Down the line. Moustakas to third. And now second and third. And nobody out for the Royals in the 8th.
Well, like as in the case with Irvin Santana, after a pitcher's error, the next pitch is hit hard. In this case, Lorenzo Cain getting a double down the left field line. And the Royals got something cooking again with 2 runners on, second and third, nobody out.
Wants to bring the infield in for Alcides Escobar. Soler with a double. Yeah, not very often you'll see 2 errors on 2 different pitchers.
Yeah.
But that's what's happened here. The second error can't be nearly as damaging as the first one was. Infield in, nobody out. And a fastball on the outside corner. You're right. When you were talking about Buznitz, just a nice, easy motion, and the ball just comes flying out of his hand. Belial warming up. Back to Buznitz, and he looks at the runner and throws to first. 1 down.
Now, as a pitcher, you always like to have that redeemer, and right the very next, well, 1 play later, he gets a ground ball hit right back at him, checks the runner at third. That would be the guy who created the error with Moustakas, and then throws to first, records the first out.
Infield will stay in. Alex Gordon's hit 3 fly balls, the most recent one in the 6th, the sacrifice fly. Buznitz trying to not take one for the team, but try to win some points by finishing this game. That's to left. And Rosario throws home, and Moustakas awkwardly scores. The throw coming through on the fly, and they're going to appeal at third base to see whether Moustakas left early. And he did not. So Gordon gets another sacrifice fly, his 2nd of the ball game.
Fastball that tailed right over the heart of the plate. He lifts it to left field. Eddie Rosario, he's under it in a nice throwing position, but then he airmails it. And Moustakas wanted to make sure that he touched the plate before he did that forward roll.
Then he did a little barrel roll and almost rolled over the bat. The Twins are checking a play that I don't believe is reviewable. The tag play at third base I don't think is a reviewable play, but it looked like the Twins were looking at it anyway. Here's Merrifield. The run and any subsequent runs will be unearned runs here against Buznitz in the 8th. Nice stop by Castro.
Well, this game has really changed in its outlook. It was a pitcher's duel for the first 3 innings. It looked like it was going to be a real clean game where both guys were going to go deep. It ends up that Jason Vargas does that, pitches 7 real solid innings for the Royals, but the Twins kind of came unraveled. 8 runs have come across for the Royals, and they lead it by 7.
Merrifield with a 1-1 count. Breaking ball off the plate. Buznet's getting his feet wet, and what we have not seen from Buznet's is erratic control. He's for the most part thrown strikes, and now he falls behind 3-1 in this outing. He hasn't walked anyone. Picked up the game with 1 out in the 6th. Trying to pitch 2 2/3 innings here.
Well, fastball his last pitch that was started away and it stayed away.
Big swing by Merrifield. 3-2.
Well, you're in a hitter's count 3-1. You take a rip at it. The only thing Merrifield did wrong is keep his head on the ball.
Fouled away. In his 3rd inning of work, there's still plenty of velocity there at 97. Full count to Whit Merrifield.
You know, as I'm watching Buznet's pitch here, the pitching coach in me comes out, and I'm thinking to myself, he's got all the attributes of being able to throw a really good split finger forkball. I just wonder if his fingers are long enough or if he has the desire to learn it, because the way the ball comes out, the release point, all those things are just perfect for him. He's got tremendous arm speed, and as he fouls more and more pitches off Merrifield, you'd think a swing and a miss pitch would really come in handy.
34 pitches, and he's maintaining his 97-mile-per-hour velocity.
Well, he might throw 20 of them here, and that's the point. You know, you throw it as hard as you want, and unless you have something, a different look for a hitter, sometimes it's hard to get the ball by him.
And gets a weak ground ball on a breaking ball over to Maurer. The inning ends, and if nothing else, Buznetz has won some points in the dugout and the bullpen. You're watching Twins baseball, presented by State Farm. Royals opening up an 8-1 lead. Eric Hosmer, Mike Moustakas, and the Royals trying to get back to and then above the 500 mark, they hope. Neftali Feliz, new to the Royals, comes in for the 33rd time.
Well, he came to the big leagues with the Texas Rangers, was with Milwaukee last year. A guy that at one time threw near triple digits fastball. Just kind of trying to reinvent his career.
Middle of the Twins lineup, meaning Escobar, Castro, and Polanco. Twins have been held to just 2 hits. That's a foul ball. Sano with an RBI single in the 3rd, and that gave the Twins a brief 1-0 lead. And then Dozier added a single in the 5th. They were tied up by Jason Vargas. And Sano on the night, driving in the only Twins run. He's also drawn a walk, gone 1 for 3. And Escobar hooks a line drive single to right to start the 9th inning. And it'll bring up Castro.
Well, it's in a situation of the game that the Twins are way behind, but Eduardo Escobar has been hitting the ball fairly well, and he picks up his first hit of the game. 1 for 4 on the night.
Castro 0 for 3, a fly ball, a strikeout, and a ground ball. And 1 strike. Popped up left field. Gordon comes in a couple steps. One down. And that'll bring up Polanco. Polanco's had a really nice play defensively in the hole, but at the plate 0 for 3, 2 flies to left and a ground ball to short. All of that as a right-handed batter against Vargas. On the outside corner. Kane hustling in and making a diving catch in center. What a catch by Lorenzo Kane.
All smiles, but what an effort. You know, here you are in a game that's pretty much a blowout, and with 1 out on top of the 9th inning, he still puts in the effort. Doesn't react very well right at the beginning, but runs it down, and like we've seen from Byron Buxton so many times, he goes all out after it, somehow hangs on, comes up with a great play right there.
Twins down to their last out, and it is Rosario coming to the plate. Three singles on the board for the Twins. Rosario with a fly ball and 2 ground ball outs. Starting to believe again here in Kansas City. The big come from behind win against Toronto a few nights ago. And if the Royals get some traction here and start climbing above the 500 mark, that's going to be an awfully big win for them, and this one as well. Fouled back, 2 strikes.
Well, for 2 reasons. You got your ace on the mound, and he goes out and pitches a gem in front of the home crowd. A great crowd, almost a sellout here in Kansas City. And you beat a guy who's coming into the game with 10 wins, and a guy that's really been on top of his game, Irvin Santana, on the road.
And that takes care of it. 37,000 the paid here at Kauffman Stadium tonight. And it looked like it was going to be a pitcher's duel, and then the Royals again took advantage of the big error in the 4th inning, and Tom Hanneman. Right now the Twins look behind themselves and find the Royals just 1 game back.